Alright YouTube, today we're doing something a little different. I am going to attempt to fix a power steering problem that I have in this '03 Honda Accord 4-cylinder. The power steering pump, when I turn the car on, it's cold out, and when I turn the wheel, it's whining. Before I go through the trouble and effort and the cost of replacing the pump itself, which I think should still be good, I'm going to try and replace the seals on the pump, the inlet and the outlet seals. Went to my local Honda dealership. This is one of those few instances where buying something at the dealership is cheaper. So I think I paid about $6 total for the parts. I don't know if that's focusing right. Yeah, there we go. The part numbers are right there if you have the same type of car. And it's basically just these two little O-rings. So what happens is that as the car ages, and this car is now 15 plus years old with 183,000 miles on it, those rings will shrink, and especially on the outlet, it will let air in to the system, which is what's causing the whine. So I've been using this '03 Accord as kind of my experimental car to kind of teach myself some auto mechanic stuff. I've done things like replaced the radiator fan, I've replaced the air conditioning compressor, new ignition coils. I blew some seafoam through the intake to get that straightened out. I've replaced the serpentine belt. I've done brake jobs front and back. On the back I had a stuck caliper, so I had to replace the calipers on the rear of the car. I had an ABS sensor go out on the front driver's side. And there's a really cool way, you don't really need a code reader to figure out which one it is. There's a code reading capability built into the dashboard for the ABS sensors themselves that will tell you which ABS sensor it is that went out. And all you really need is a paper clip to do a jump on the OBD2 sensor to enable that functionality. There's other videos out on YouTube if you have that problem. The part itself was only, for the ABS sensor, was only 28 bucks. I had to buy a $21. I actually had to take apart the entire front axle of the car to drill the old one out because it was stuck after 18 years or 15 years of being in there. There was no way to get it out without breaking it. So I ended up having to pop the ball joints and disassemble the axle to take the whole front assembly off in order to get at the ABS sensor. And you can't drill it out without cleaning it all out and everything, so you have to basically remove the front hub to do that. The other thing that came up today, this car's been sitting, we've had some snow in Virginia. This car's been sitting for a week and a half. And I knew the battery was kind of starting to have some issues. And today I go out to start it up after it was sitting, and it just wouldn't go. It was 11 degrees here in Virginia this morning, so the cold combined with the weak battery, it just didn't want to start. So I'll put in a little plug for Costco. When I finally got it jumped and brought it in, I opened the hood and I realized that the battery that was in it was an Interstate battery that I had bought from Costco, and there was a stamp on it that said August 2016. I call up Costco, they look up the purchase, they verify that I had purchased it, and the Interstate batteries carry a 3.5-year warranty on them. So I was able to just yank the old battery out, bring it in, and exchange it without $1 out of my pocket for a brand new Interstate battery. So yes, it's a little more expensive than going to maybe your local auto parts store or Walmart or whatever and buying the cheapest batteries you can get. Interstate batteries are generally very good, and hey, 3.5-year warranty, even if they're not good, you can get them exchanged for free at Costco if you're a member there. I'm sure BJ's and all the other big box warehouse stores have the same type of thing going on with other brands of batteries. So I have the battery out right now. I'm going to clean up the battery compartment a little bit, and then I'm going to bring you over to show the O-ring fix on the power steering pump. I will cut right now to some footage I took a little earlier of what that power steering issue sounds like. So you'll hear me with the engine at idle, and then you'll hear it alternating as I get in and kind of through the window. I'm turning the steering wheel from side to side. You'll hear the whine. So when we come back from that footage, we'll start with the power steering replacement. Everybody should know how to do a battery. I'm not going to bore you all with that. I just wanted to kind of tell people about the the ability to get the 3.5-year warranty and swap out. No questions asked at Costco. They didn't test it. They just took my word for it. I guess they figure you're not going to go through the trouble of yanking out a battery and bringing it in unless there's actually a problem. All they had to do was just verify the purchase and hand me a receipt and a new battery. So there you go. All right, see you in a couple minutes. Bye. Alright YouTube, here we are about to get started. Battery is replaced. Side note, for this particular model of car, whenever you disconnect power, you have to enter a factory code into the stereo receiver in order to get the car stereo working again. It's an anti-theft mechanism, although these days I'm not exactly sure who's interested in a 03 Accord stereo. You have to provide your Honda, you have to provide them with a serial number for the stereo itself in order to get the code, and then just keep the code handy for those times that you need to disconnect the power for any reason. So all I'm doing here, I put a little bit of plastic down. We're gonna leak a little bit of power steering fluid as we do this, as we disconnect the lines and everything. And then I'm just putting an old rag, which is really old ratty pair of my son's shorts, in here to capture it. Reason being is the alternator is directly below the power steering pump here. So you definitely don't want any liquid getting into the alternator, because you could fry it. I think back here, I'm just going to put a something to sop up any liquid that comes out of this line. Got an old sock here. All right, I think that'll do it. And then if we get anything on this is the top part of the serpentine belt here, we're going to want to clean that up too. Alright, so let's see how this goes. This should be a 10mm bolt, as most things are. Yep, 10 mil. Let's see how this goes. Alright, a little bit of fluid came out. So I would have expected the O-ring to be on the line. You have a flashlight, see what's in there. It's still inside here. Alright, so I'm just going to get my pick and pluck this baby out. Alright, there we go. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take the other line off now. Let's see how this goes. Alright, so there's the other seal. Where'd my pick go? Of course, the magnetic tray picked it up. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pluck this seal out. Alright, so let me break out the new seals here. And we'll check them against the size of the seals I just plucked out. Alright, so this should be the rear seal. Yep, good match. We'll go ahead and put this on. Oh, damn it! Alright, I gotta pause while I fish that out. I just dropped it. Alright, that wasn't too bad with my little grabbers. One thing I've learned doing some of this automotive works is having one of those and having a magnetic fish kind of telescoping rod is key. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the power steering fluid, kind of prime this. Alright, and I think that one's ready to go back in. back in. Couple of bolts. You don't want to go overboard torquing these. I haven't looked up the torque specs, but I'm just going to kind of hand tighten them. Okay, because there's two of them, I'm just going to kind of alternate as I tighten. I'm going to get them about as tight as it took to break them away. Alright, that's as tight as I think I'm willing to go on this. Alright, now for the front seal. Check the size on this real quick. Yep, that looks about right. Go ahead and put it on there. Same thing, a little power steering fluid. Prime the seal up a little bit. And back in. Alright, let me torque this down a little bit. Alright, that should do it. So there's the amount of power steering fluid I spilled there. Just clean the serpentine belt. Any residual mess down here. Let's wipe off the engine shroud while I'm there. Alright, and you can see there's the amount of fluid I spilled down there. Alternator is nice and dry. Clean off the rest of the power steering pump. Now, one thing I'm going to do while I'm in here real quick. Just to make it easier to identify if there's actually a leak up here. This thing is old, so there's all kinds of stains and stuff. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a brush down so that it's easier to pick up on if there's any actual leaks coming out of this thing. Then I'm just going to hit it with a compressor. Alright, so that should do it. Let's see if it fixed the problem. I think I'm going to have to crack the garage door because I'm going to start the engine up. It's cold as hell outside. And I've heard that, or at least the videos and stuff I saw in preparation for this, it takes a little bit of turning of the wheel. Might even take a few an hour or two behind the wheel. I'm going to drive this to work tomorrow and see if the whine straightens out. So let me give it a shot here, turn the wheel a little bit, and see if the whine sorts out. have success. So let me pull back to a wider shot here to wrap up. All right, so I think that was fairly quick and dirty. I would say if you're going to go through the trouble, a lot of the videos I saw basically just recommend replacing the outlet O-ring for $3 extra. Just go ahead and replace the rear one too. Might as well just do both of them. I think on Amazon, you know, they wanted to charge like $9 with, you know, 3 to 5 days delivery. It wasn't an Amazon product. It was sold by a third-party vendor. So, you know, I figured I would just go over to Honda and see if they had it in stock. They did. $6. No need for a new power steering pump as far as I can tell. All I'm going to do is really just check. Actually, can do that right now. You just check the power steering fluid. Looks like it's actually a little bit low. I did buy, so Hondas actually take a special power steering fluid. I'm going to pick some up at the local auto parts store here. You can see right here it says formulated for Honda vehicles. So this was another $6. So for $12, I fixed the issue in my garage, having a beer, talking with you all. And I'm just gonna crack this open, top off my fluid a little bit, and we should be all set. If anything changes as I drive it to and from work tomorrow, I'll update. But yeah, before you go out and pay a mechanic or worry about replacing the entire power steering pump, which involves kind of taking the serpentine belt and all this other stuff off, try those seals out. It took me 5 minutes while I was explaining it to you all, and resolved the problem. So life is good. Have a good day.